Hey everyone, welcome to another video in the Coaching Mastery series. We've done a lot of these videos. I think we're going on, what is this, the fourth week or so?
Yeah.
Something like that. So we got a lot of content for you to consume if you're relatively new to the series. You can watch all the replays in our Coaching Mastery playlists on YouTube. You can go to bit.ly/YouTube replays and go right there. You can click on the videos and the playlists on the YouTube channel. You can see them all on Facebook if you're more of a Facebook kind of person. You can go to facebook.com/Coach Sean Smith, click on the videos, click on the playlists, and you'll find the Coaching Mastery playlists there as well. We did a couple series inside this bigger series, the 4 stages of neurotransformational coaching success, which is pretty new content. It'll really help you understand where you are in your growth if you want to be a deep dive transformational coach. And then we also did a 5-part series on how to change a life, which is all about human behavior. And it's one of the reasons I think a lot of coaches struggle is because they spend a lot of time on the doing part of coaching, but not really the understanding part of underneath the coaching, right? Who's the human underneath the coaching? And that actually feeds into one of the sub sections that we're going to talk about today, which is the power of purpose. Anything you want to add before we get into that, Michelle?
No, let's jump in.
So today we're talking about the power of purpose. And I had a thought earlier that because I wrote a note or something in the notes here for today, and I think I put your money. I think I said making money will never be a big enough. No, I said if making money is your personal purpose, you won't succeed. And then I changed personal to coaching. I said if making money is your coaching purpose, you won't succeed. But then I thought, but making money is important, and making money is the business purpose. Mm-hmm. So then in just kind of fumbling with those 3 words, I thought these actually are different. So there is a business purpose, and the purpose of a business is to make money, because business doesn't have any feelings. The essence of a business is not a person. And one of the challenges that I think we have, or one of the challenges that we do have, is because we personify business. Like, we think our business should care about us. We think people's business decisions should be based on how good of a person we are, or how much we deserve success, or how long we've been working, or how much we need their money, right? Business doesn't care because business doesn't have the capacity to care. That doesn't mean that the human underneath the business doesn't care. That's the distinction that I'm making here. Right. But there is a purpose to business, which is to make money, because if your business doesn't make money, you don't have a business. Cash flow is the lifeblood of a business. And so if you're not creating cash, you're not giving the entity of your business any lifeblood, any essence for it to keep going. So there's nothing wrong with wanting and focusing on and tracking making money. But if the business doesn't have the capacity to care, and the business's purpose is making money, but the human's purpose is not necessarily making money, and the human cares about making money, then it's not going to be aligned. Does that make sense the way it came out?
Not the last part.
All right,
about the human not caring.
Yeah, so if we put all of our energy as a human into making money, we put it on our goal poster, we put it in our affirmations, we really make money meaningful to us as a person.
Got it.
Most of us are going to be misaligned.
Oh, yeah.
Because basically what we're saying is my main purpose as this person is to make money.
Right.
And we see this all the time when we ask coaches why they want to be coaches, or we look at the marketing, all the vendors in the coaching industry, the majority of them are about making money. So what does that mean? That means the main focus is making money.
Right.
And we do values work all the time with our clients in our live events. I've I hardly ever, I almost said never, but I think I've seen it once or twice.
Yeah.
I've done it hundreds of times with people. I don't think I have ever, except with me, actually, I don't think I've ever seen anybody, when we do the values work, which is designed to help people realize what are the most important things to them. I don't think I've ever seen anybody have money in the top 5. Except I did when I did it in 2005, but that's because I was losing like $15,000 a month. And I was in such a bad financial place that I thought my whole life was going to be ruined unless I start making some money. Right. But it's really, it really wasn't. And it isn't in my top 5. It just was urgent in that moment. Sure. So whenever I've seen money show up on people's lists of values of what's important to them, it's pretty much always an urgency thing. Mm-hmm. On the top list of values, right?
Yeah.
So what does that mean? And then what we usually do is go, okay, well, what's on your goal posters? Like your top 5 values, let's say, are making a difference in people's lives and spending time with your family and living a healthy life and loving and serving, right? I'm just making those up. Let's say those are your top 5 values. And then we'll go, what's on your goal poster? Oh, my goal poster is to make $1 million in 2023 and to quit my job and to, like, money, status, ego.
Sure.
But that's not your top 5 values, right? Now, if they were your top 5 values, fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm also not saying that nobody has money in the top 5 values. I don't see it, but partly that's because that's the magnet that I put out also, right? Like, I don't teach a bunch of people, like, we're just making money. So people who do have a super high value on making money are not going to stick around in many of my videos because that's not what drives me and it's not what I talk about. So the reason it's important to understand this is, and this is one of the themes of this whole Coaching Mastery series, is there's no right or wrong, good or bad. There's just alignment. And if you as a person have a different purpose than making money, then you as a person will be fueled by what that purpose is. You won't be fueled by making money. So I think most of us have 3 purposes. If you want to be in business as a coach, you have 3 purposes. You have a business purpose, which is going to be financial of some kind. It's going to be growing the business. It's going to be business related, and finance is going to be one of them. You have a personal purpose. And for most people, it's like making a difference or leaving an impact or making a mark or changing people's lives. Or for me, the word is significance. I want to be significant, but not in an ego way. Like, I want other people to think of me as significant. I just want to feel like my life was significant, like I mattered, like the things that I did meant something, right? That kind of significance. So we're all going to have a personal purpose. And then this is something I've never thought about. I don't think I've thought about it in these contexts, at least. Then we have a coaching purpose. As a coach, what is your purpose? When you sit down with somebody online, in person, in direct message, whatever, when you're in communication with humans, what's your coaching purpose? And I think those 3 things are going to be distinct for everybody, at least in the details. I think that the personal purpose and the coaching purpose are going to be complementary to each other for most people. Meaning, if you want to be significant, then your coaching purpose is probably something like, I want to help people change their lives. I want people to feel better about themselves. I want relationships to be healed. I want trauma to be dissolved, right? So there's probably going to be some more details around the coaching, not just purpose. I'm trying to find a different word for that, but like the coaching outcomes. And those are probably going to be similar to what you experienced through coaching. What we find is that most people's coaching purpose, if you look at their goals, if you look at the programs that we're selling, the programs that we're buying, most people's coaching purpose is to get clients. If your coaching purpose is to get, now your business purpose, yes, get clients. If your coaching purpose is to get clients, if you're like most people that I've ever met, will not have the desire, the drive to get over the hurdles. You just won't. Because your personal purpose and your coaching purpose are much more about your internal drive, your internal inspiration, not what you're going to get coming back to you. It's what you're going to give coming out of you. Those two elements are going to have to be intrinsic for most of us. Those two elements being your personal purpose and your coaching purpose. Your business purpose is what's coming back to you, because that is growing your community, getting clients, making money. That's great. But if you agree with me, I happen to agree with me. If you agree with me, then two of these three things are intrinsic in nature. They're intrinsic, and they have the capacity to give you the drive to get up and keep going. Getting stuff back, which is extrinsic in nature, does not have the capacity to cause most people to get up and keep going. If it does, then what that means is we're trying to get up and keep going so that we can get stuff coming back to us. And that's not going to be a healthy inspiration, because then we're constantly going to need the extrinsic rewards for us to get up and do the things, right? So what we find pretty much for everybody who is struggling, it's because they're missing those two internal purposes. Not that they're missing like they don't have it, just that that's not what they're tapping into. They're tapping into the business purpose and hoping that it will inspire the human, hoping that it will inspire your drive as a coach. Right. And I would say that a lot of people actually don't have a coaching purpose, because they either don't have the certainty in themselves, they haven't experienced coaching to the level where they can actually be driven by the outcome of coaching. They're not a product of the coaching. So if you don't have a coaching purpose, it's actually going to be really hard to get clients, because people can feel it.
Totally. And I think, well, first of all, I love the way you broke all of this down. And what came to me when you were talking is that, like, not only is this going to be distinct for everyone, but this is also going to change as you change as a person, right? As your business evolves or as your coaching evolves. And so this is also not something that, we do one time and then is just done for always, right? Because I know this is all actually very relevant for me in my life at this time. And I had a thought a couple of months ago where I was like, gosh, I started my coaching business in 2016, and I haven't revisited any of these things since then. And a lot of stuff has changed, right? So to check back in and give yourself that experience, instead of saying, because a lot of us in the personal development with purpose specifically are like, yeah, I did that.
Right. I did that 14 years ago.
Exactly. Right. And so that's important. Number one, to just check back in. And especially if you're feeling a little uninspired or unmotivated or not really taking the actions that you want to be taking, it could be a purpose alignment conversation. And going back to what you were saying at the end there, Sean, about the business purpose and the extrinsic nature of that, what I thought about is, my gosh, that's why we get so exhausted. Because if I'm only doing what I'm doing to get that reciprocation back, then I have to be studying all of those extrinsic variables, right? I have to be studying all the algorithms. I have to be understanding all the different platforms. I have to be taking all of the classes on how to turn every no into a yes, and understanding LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest and like all of the different things, because I'm trying to figure that out as my inspiration to keep going. And not that any of that isn't potentially relevant for somebody, but what I'm so clearly hearing and what you're saying is that the personal purpose and the coaching purpose, that's that drive from the inside that is going to help us keep going for the long time, help us keep going when the algorithms change, help us keep going when people say no, help us keep going when things don't seem to be working out in the way that we really want them And without that, I mean, if you want evidence of the reality in this, like there are so many good, qualified, trained, passionate coaches who stop the business, right? Or whose businesses never
Yeah.
actually get started. And it's inside of this conversation, definitely in part.
Yeah, it's in the distinction. Like these are three different lanes.
Yeah.
And it maps onto those stages that we talked about in the sense that you as a person, you go first. Actually, it maps on exactly.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
There's certainty, we talked about confidence and certainty in the work, confidence and certainty in yourself, and then confidence and certainty in your messaging. And the messaging is the business, obviously yourself is you, and the work is the coaching. And the three distinctions, they're just different lanes. None of them are more important than the other. They just work together, but they need to be aligned. And so the problem is when they're misaligned. The problem is when the business purpose is being used to try to drive the human, or the business purpose is being used to try to drive the coaching, because then the prospect will feel that. And that's when it doesn't work. And it is really sad, like you said, the idea, the reality that so many really, really good coaches just don't build the muscles in business. And your personal purpose also doesn't have the power to fuel the business.
Right.
Like it has the power to fuel you to learn about the business, but it doesn't have the power to fuel the business. You're not going to affirm your way into business success, right? There are muscles that are business muscles, and they're just different. So they work together, but they are distinct muscles and distinct inspiration. And you said so many people are focusing on all that extrinsic stuff, LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest and all that stuff. Those things are literally changing constantly.
100%.
So if we're in the game to try to find the static rules that aren't going to change, but then we're trying to learn about these things that are never going to stay the same, I mean, that is one of the reasons why so many people really, really struggle. All right. Well, we'll put a pin in this for now. I imagine there will be more videos on this because this is about 2 hours old. This construct in itself. Dylan asks a good question. I think he asked it as I was talking about the difference between your personal purpose, right, and then positioning. And positioning is more of a business conversation. Yeah. Positioning is the messaging that we were referring to. What is it that you do for people? Understand why people will say yes to whatever product it is that you're selling. How you position hospital beds is going to be different than how you position transformational coaching. So there's no such thing as just positioning across the board. So again, alignment, right? We got to understand how to message. And one of the things that we've recognized, and I'm just going to finish this final thought to finish my response to Dylan. And I appreciate the question, Dylan, and appreciate all the comments that you guys are saying. You see, we're putting some of them on the screen here. And as you're watching the replay, continue to add the comments to the videos just to co-create as much of this conversation as possible. So one of the things that we recognized is that when people get really confident and certain about themselves and the work, they actually suck at messaging for a little while. Most people, most of us really sucked. Like the more confident that we were and the more passionate we were, the worse messaging and positioning we ended up having, because we were being fueled by the personal purpose and the coaching purpose. And we just didn't recognize, oh, that doesn't just translate over into, let me tell everybody what it means to heal your childhood trauma and how I feel better and how you should join my program, right? Like that's actually not the way it works. But it's like we have to go there to recognize, all right, we need to peel back some of the passion, which actually can come across as threatening or maybe intimidating or maybe just confusing, and then like reel it back in and get to more of the more, I don't know, neutral is the word that's in my head. It's not really neutral necessarily, but just like meeting people where they are at rather than forcing them to come to where we are at. And those distinctions are critical all across the board. And even with positioning, that's going to change all the time, right? how you position yourself or what the world is doing. I think we need to position ourselves a little differently in 2022 than we were in 2016, because the world is different. Society is different. All kinds of things are different. So with all of that, we want to bring in a special guest, one of our students who's been through this whole journey with us on a deep, deep level. Hello, Michelle.
Hey, how are you?
Fantastic. So if you don't know Michelle, this is Coach Michelle Porterfield. And I hear that you've got some things to say about coaching and purpose and drive. And you've been in the background I've seen for this whole conversation. So if there's anything you want to add to what we've said, feel free to, or just take it away in your own conversation. What do you want to share?
Awesome. Well, it's interesting. I heard you say flow, and that was one of the biggest things for me, was understanding the flow of money in general. And I think if that had been my top starting out point, was like the getting clients, all that marketing scares me to death. And before I went through BCC and ECCP, like I didn't really know why that would have scared me to death, but the values is exactly the reason, because that is not up on my list. So I think that was the biggest thing for me, was like, of course it was out of alignment, because that's not what I want.
So what was it that caused you to get into alignment? I mean, obviously you mentioned BCC, CCP. Those are a couple of our programs, if you guys don't know about it. But was there a moment? Was there a frustration? Was there a conversation that you had with somebody, a coaching process you did? Like what was it for you to recognize that you need to get back into alignment?
Yeah, I think for me it's just as far as like finding you and really hearing that it was deeper. So for me, it was just, my story is I have just come along the journey since 2019 and now in 2022, and just seeing how I went from not really knowing how to find my person to finding her and speaking to her, and I typed in the chat like the looking back wisdom, because I kind of giggled when you said because we can get real excited when we're in that like deep growth that we're doing and learning all these things, but then you go to tell somebody and they're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like I love the video you did about the bubbles, they're making it to the surface, and it's like
blah, 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 blah.
So it's the looking back, and that's what did it for me when I realized when people were even telling me no. I used to be so scared of that, and I made it mean something about me, to where now I love the no's, because it's so clear that they're not ready, and then I'm not meant to guide them or be the light. So it's a whole different mindset for me now with that.
What you just said is so powerful. And if you had a pill that could promise what you just said, you'd instantly become a billionaire, of how to make that shift to where you love the no's and you recognize that it's just simply not a fit. Whereas before you were making it mean something about yourself. I think that's the graveyard that most coaches die in, not making that shift right there.
Yeah, and I've heard you say people have thoughts. This came to me this morning. People have thoughts of their fear of I'm going to mess them up. And I was like, I've never really had that thought, because I never thought I had that much power and capability to mess someone up. And then today I thought, I'm so certain in this work that I'm about to mess people up. Like, it's a totally different thing. Totally different.
Well, I'm going to mess them up, but in a good way. Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's huge.
That's amazing.
I thought about you, Michelle, specifically inside of this topic, just thinking about the whole journey that you and I specifically have known each other, and really seeing you as an example of this, right? As an example of being connected to something that is deeper, that matters I want to say more, but it's maybe just differently matters more deeply to keep you going and to figure out all of the business stuff that I know has grown and that you're figuring out, and you're making the money and the clients and navigating all of that and where to get support and, you know, expanding on your podcast platform and all of the things that you're doing. And also just hearing that drive of that woman, that single person that you're waking up every day, you know, to serve. And you're such a really beautiful example of that. And I also know that at the very beginning, at least what I believe at the very beginning, it wasn't like, it was what you were saying, right? It wasn't always that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And it's just a matter of taking the action anyway. I think that's the biggest thing is, yes, I've had the imposter thoughts. Yes, I've had the fear of visibility and all the things that we all feel, but I have such a deep rooted, I can't not do this. I can't not help her, that I just do it anyway. And I stumble over my words. And, you know, I go back and listen to the early days of the podcast, or anybody, if they were doing videos or anything else, you look and you just, I remember Sean saying early on, just start talking, just move. And that's what I'm continuing to do, is move. And I get more and more clear on her. I get more and more clear on where she is right now, and meet her where she's at. And when you said that coaching purpose, I was writing notes, and it's like the biggest thing when I first see them and have a consult. I just had a new consult right before I got on here.
Nice.
They just need to be, she needs to know that I see her and that she's not alone, and that I get her, and that I've got her. And that's really what has to come through when we're meeting with these people. And we don't even talk about money. That's not even the conversation yet. It's like, let's get to connecting and her feeling safe inside of that relationship with me. And then we can talk that next step.
That's so good. You seem, you're just so grounded in your space and your energy. And somebody just commented that just highlighted what you said. I can't not do this. And I don't want to just breeze over that, just in case somebody needs to hear that or hear that explained a little bit more. So will you dive into that just a little bit more? What do you mean by that? I can't not do this. When did that shift happen, and what does it mean?
I think it was just from the freedom that I experienced in my own journey. Because as you said, and we've all, you know, I think the longevity of being a helper, a coach, whatever we want to call ourselves, like, it doesn't come from a place of, hey, I want to start a business, or hey, I want to make $1 million, or, oh, let's go try this. It comes from a place typically of a great suffering and a great process of your own experience. And that's what mine came from. And it went from, okay, let's, you know, in the beginning, even with through BCC, just practice coaching, free coaching, to like my first client was like $40 an hour.
Yes.
And like, and she's like, well, duh, yeah, you know. So now, much more than that, and, you know, much more consistent commitment and things like that. And I'm learning as I go. And so I realize with each person, when I see the changes in their lives, it really just gives me more desire and drive to keep making sure I'm speaking to her so she can find me. Like, I have to shine. It's the lighthouse. I have to keep shining. I have to keep showing up inside, even inside of, I've had a lot of stuff going on in my own personal life for the last 6 months. And I could have said, you know what, I got to take a break, set that to the side. There's some big things happening. But it actually has given me more drive because, you know, inside my own learning and growth and development, I bring that right back and just turn it and hand it to her. So that's what I mean.
That right there, that being all the challenges that you've had in your personal life, and we're all going to have challenges. The intensity is going to differ, obviously, from person to person, but the desire to make money is not going to keep very many people on the horse.
Right.
It's just not. It's not deep enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's not meaningful enough. And when we do make money, it doesn't give us any deep satisfaction anyway. So our unconscious mind knows that even if we use this as a target, if we hit it, it's not going to be very meaningful to us because it never has been. And that's one of the main reasons I think why so many people really struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody just asked in one of the groups, how do you keep your purpose alive even when you're not making money from coaching yet?
Mm-hmm.
How do you stay inspired to live your truth and create time to coach even while working full time? So that first question, and I don't know if you were around when, for this whole video, the distinction between those three purposes. The first question, if I break that down as a coach, your first question means your purpose is to make money.
Right.
Because you're saying, how do you keep your purpose alive even when you're not making money?
Mm-hmm.
Two of your purposes, your personal purpose and your coaching purpose, cannot be to make money.
Mm-hmm.
So those purposes are alive to what Michelle just shared. Those purposes stay alive because you can't not do it. When you're not making money at something, but you're aligned with the purpose of doing it, you'll keep doing it because the money is not the reason.
Mm-hmm.
So if the struggle is I'm trying something, but I'm not making money, if that's the struggle, then I think you've got a misalignment and you're trying to put money in your gas tank and then expecting it to fuel the car. But it doesn't fuel the car. It doesn't fuel the human car. And there's so much focus in the coaching world on high ticket and making money and charging what you're worth. Michelle just said she charged $40 an hour, and you said it as though it was low, because in the coaching industry, that's been positioned like the hourly rate is way higher than that. But $40 an hour, that's better than most people's jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's better than most people's jobs. And the way to get to whatever your now number is, because you said it's higher, Michelle and I don't coach for $40 an hour anymore, but both of us coach for less than that.
Yep.
In the beginning.
25, baby.
So one of the big mistakes that I also think people make is they try to jump to those higher dollar amounts because they think that's where they're supposed to be, or they just want that. And they think that if somebody pays them $100 an hour, it's going to make you feel better than if somebody pays you $40 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely not. That's confusing your coaching purpose with your money purpose. As you get clients, see, here's the thing. Your business would be happier with you if you had 5 clients paying you $40 an hour than if you had 0 clients paying you $200 an hour. Your ego wants the $200 an hour. Your business is like, can you just give me some lifeblood here?
Mm-hmm.
That's why these distinctions are so critical. And the way to raise your prices to $200 an hour is coach the shit out of people at $40 an hour until you feel so good about what you're doing that you can't ask for only $40 anymore because the work is so important and you feel it, and or you have too many clients and you can't afford to keep coaching at $40 an hour. That's how most people need to raise their prices. That's not what most people are doing.
Right.
And that's why most coaches don't succeed. Even the people that actually have a lot of coaching skills, and most certified coaches don't have paying clients. In my experience, just asking around, most people even have all the certifications, but it's because there's misalignment. So I don't mean to sound dismissive or demeaning in any way to that question itself or anybody that resonates with that question. We're just telling you what we know to be true. We're from our perspective. The people that now charge hundreds and hundreds of dollars at some point charged tens of dollars.
Correct.
For that same amount of time. But we get conditioned like, oh, well, I'm worth more than that. Says who? Says who? If you have an unpolished product or an unproven product, you don't have a product that can command higher dollar amounts. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what you're doing. None of that stuff matters. In this arena, you're a beginner. And truth is the truth, no matter how you feel about it. In this arena, you're a beginner. And for a lot of people, they haven't even purchased their own product, meaning you haven't been through coaching or you don't believe in your own coaching. And here's what I know to be true. And you kind of alluded to this a little bit, Michelle. If somebody were to pay you $200 before you believed in your product, their $200 would not only not make you believe in your product, it will scare you. Because the more somebody's paying for a product that you don't believe in, the more imposter syndrome is kicked in.
The more pressure.
The more pressure. And now you feel like you got to impress them maybe to justify the $200. You guys, just charge $20 and coach the shit out of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, and if it helps, just to share, I am also still working. I made room for both. I didn't dive in like a lot of, I believe, from what I hear as well, a lot of people just want to dive in and they think they want to do it full time, and that's great, but it's a process.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad you said that.
Yep.
We'll have to do this on another video just because of time. Okay. That, again, is one of the things that the coaching industry, I think personal development to some degree, a lot of the MLM industry, network marketing industry, we demonize having jobs. Like, if you still have a job, then you're just over broke, J-O-B. You know who's under broke? People that do what you just said. Most people that quit their jobs because they buy into the idea that being an entrepreneur is easy.
Yeah.
And then, or they, get a $3,000 coaching client or something and then quit their job because if they just did that 4 more times every single month, then they'd be good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, most people would hope to get back to just over broke.
Correct.
So let's be real about what entrepreneurship is. Coaching is just a product of entrepreneurship, and coaching is no different. So that pressure that a lot of people put on because of all the fantasies that we hear, that's the thing. Nobody does that as a doctor. Nobody does it as a lawyer. Nobody does it as a therapist. Nobody does it in industries where there's a very clear path and nobody's lying to them, because there are regulations that say you can't tell a doctor that all you have to do is want to be a doctor or win the board game of life, and all of a sudden, here's how you can get somebody on your operating table in 24 hours or less. No, you actually can't do that because it's illegal. But in this industry, there is nothing illegal to tell people. And I'm not saying that, like, my passion about that is toward the industry that keeps setting people up to fail in an endeavor that is about failure, that is about evolution, that is about getting really, 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 really good before you create a lot of business success. We have it backwards. We think if you really want to, if you have the discipline, or if you'll pay me $25,000, then you're immediately going to do the impossible, which is, all of a sudden have certainty or have confidence or get a bunch of people to pay you $25,000 as well. Obviously, I've got a lot of juice around that, so we'll save this to another video. But we need to normalize successful coaching as a side job.
Correct.
While you still have the financial stability of your real job. Mm-hmm. And if you keep your job, you can be frustrated. You can want to get into coaching. Great. Use that as fuel. If you keep your real job and you're able to keep your feet on the ground financially, it gives you more investment. It removes a lot of the risk. It removes a lot of the pressure. And then you start coaching people. What if you were to pick up 5 coaching clients at $40 an hour? Mm-hmm. That could be $1,000 extra a month. How many of you, just think about this for those of you that are in the early stages of your coaching, what would $500 extra a month do?
Mm-hmm.
Or $1,000 extra a month do on the side while you're getting better? And then while you're getting better and you're learning the messaging and you're learning all of that stuff, then it becomes $1,500 a month, $2,000 a month. There will be a time, if you do it the right way, and everybody can do this. That's the thing. You don't need sales skills and marketing skills, and you don't need to be an extrovert, and you don't need to have all this massive confidence about speaking on stages. There's nobody that cannot learn how to change a human life and then offering life-changing coaching for whatever the dollar amount is. There is not a human alive that cannot learn that unless there's just some neurological learning deficit. But people can learn this. It's just people won't learn this with the impatience.
Mm-hmm.
They won't learn it with the pressure. They won't learn it with all the things that, that the coaching industry is setting people up to fail with. But imagine if you just made a few $100 and then $1,000 and then a couple $1,000, and then you couldn't afford to stay in your job.
Right.
That's the better path for almost everybody. And what if you never become a full-time coach and all you did was help a lot of people change their lives and heal their traumas and heal their relationships and feel better about themselves, and you just got paid a few $1,000s a month eventually, and it took a couple years? How would that feel? It's much better than jumping off the cliff, which is what you alluded to, Michelle. So much better than jumping off the cliff because you hoped it was going to work out and crash and then actually never evolve, right? The pressure that we can put on ourselves, especially if we remove financial stability,
Mm-hmm.
the pressure is big enough that for a lot of people, they will never pass a certain point that's required to then be successful because the pressure is just too great. And it doesn't matter that you've been doing this for a year or 5 years or 10 years. It does not matter. There's a way that you have to be in the learning process to actually learn. Anyway, I said I wasn't going to talk about it. So, and then I talked about it a lot. We will dive into that. One of the videos coming up will be more about succeeding as a part-time coach. And we have to remove the stigma, like that is losing somehow. And if it is losing, then you're not in this game right.
It's losing. It's interesting to me because I was thinking you were like, if all it does, and I was like, you mean if all it does is fulfill your coaching purpose? If all it does is fulfill your personal purpose? If all it does is actually fulfill your business purpose? Like you can have coaching success part-time and fulfill all three of your purposes.
Michelle, thank you for coming on.
Totally.
Michelle, thank you for adding all the things that you added. Michelle Moore, Michelle Porterfield, thank you for coming on and sharing your looking back wisdom. As you said, that phrase is really powerful. Mm-hmm. And just being the essence of coaching. And, you speak from certainty, and when certainty speaks, it sounds different. It looks different. It is different. And it's really cool to see your certainty in the work and in yourself and in your purpose, and just coming from the place of, I can't not do this. And the world needs more of people just like that. Mm. The world needs more of people just like you. The world doesn't need more of people playing copycat and trying to be the next Tony Robbins or Lisa Nichols or anybody else. And I don't have anything bad to say about those two people. People are trying to be their watered down version of all these megastars. Or people that are making $1 million a year, 100,000 a month or a weekend or whatever. Don't be a watered down version of anybody else. Be your most authentic, most actualized version of yourself. And then you can, I love the way you said this, Michelle, you can fulfill those three purposes. Mm-hmm. So you will hear more about the part-time coach and certainly these three purposes as we continue to allow these concepts to evolve. Again, Michelle, thank you for joining us today. I know a lot of people got a lot out of it, judging by the comments. And we'll see you around soon.
Bye, Michelle.
Bye.
All right, everyone. We'll see you in another video.
Take care.